24. The Cry of the Raven. A raven, its feathers black as midnight, perched upon the windowsill, tapping its beak against the glass. Elias knew. He always knew when it came. The harbinger, the reminder, the echo of a past he could never outrun. He rose, his joints protesting, and shuffled towards the window, his gaze locking with the bird's obsidian eyes. William, his best friend, the man he betrayed, the man he condemned to a fate worse than death. It was all for Amelia, for a love that defied reason and loyalty. But love, as he learned, could be a double-edged sword, capable of carving joy and leaving behind scars that never truly healed. Years ago, William had discovered a hidden treasure, a secret that promised untold riches. Blinded by his love for Amelia and the desire to give her the life she deserved, Elias had betrayed William, revealing the secret to a rival who sought the treasure for himself. William, in his attempt to protect his find, was captured and subjected to a cruel and unusual punishment. He was bound to the land, his spirit cursed to wander for eternity, unable to find peace. "You condemned me, Elias," William's voice rasped. "And for what? For her." He gestured towards Amelia's portrait, his touch leaving a frosty rime on the canvas. "She's gone, Elias, and you're left alone to face the consequences of your actions." Elias closed his eyes, tears tracing paths down his wrinkled cheeks. He had condemned his friend and lost his love in the process. Amelia, unable to bear the weight of his betrayal, had withered away, leaving him with nothing but regret and the annual visit of his tormented friend. "I know," Elias whispered, his voice breaking, "and I will face them until my last breath." The wraith moved closer, his form solidifying, revealing a face twisted in a permanent grimace of pain and fury. He raised a hand, spectral energy crackling around his fingertips. "Then face this," William snarled. But before the wraith could strike, a loud caw filled the room. The raven launched itself from the windowsill, its wings buffeting William's face, momentarily disrupting his concentration. "He's here, isn't he?" Elias rasped, his voice thick with the dust of time. Elias knew this was his chance. He lunged forward, grabbing a silver candlestick from the mantelpiece. With a strength born of desperation, he brought it down on the wraith's arm, the silver searing his spectral flesh. William shrieked, a sound that echoed through the halls of Ravenwood Manor. He stumbled backward, his form flickering like a dying flame. "You cannot escape me, Elias," he hissed, his voice weak. "I will return." And then he was gone, fading into the shadows like smoke on the wind. The raven landed gently on Elias's shoulder, its head cocking in a knowing gesture. "Thank you, old friend," Elias murmured, stroking the bird's feathers. He knew this was not the end. William would return, as he always did. But for now, he had a reprieve, a moment to breathe. He looked back at Amelia's portrait, his heart heavy with grief and regret. "Forgive me," he whispered. The wind outside had died down, and the rain had ceased its relentless assault. A sliver of moon peeked through the clouds, casting a pale light upon the room. The cry of the raven echoed in the night, a sound of sorrow, a sound of hope, a sound of a man forever bound to the consequences of his choices. And Elias Thorne, the last of his line, stood alone, facing the darkness, waiting for the dawn. The raven cawed, a single mournful note that hung in the air like a shroud. Elias sighed, a deep, rattling sound that spoke volumes of his sorrow. He knew the drill. Every year, on this night, the anniversary of his greatest mistake, the wraith came to call. He walked towards the portrait that hung above the mantelpiece. A young woman, with eyes as blue as the summer sky and hair, the color of spun gold, smiled back at him, her image frozen in time. "Amelia, Dotgan. His Amelia. He won't hurt you, my love," Elias whispered, his voice cracking. "Not while I still breathe." A bone-chilling cold swept through the room, snuffing out the fire in an instant. Darkness descended, thick and heavy, pressing against Elias like a physical weight. Then, a voice, cold and hollow, echoed from the shadows. "Elias Thorne," it hissed, each word dripping with venom. "You remember." Elias turned, his aged body trembling, but his gaze steady. He saw him then, a figure wreathed in darkness, his eyes burning like embers. The wraith, the embodiment of his guilt. "I remember everything, William," Elias said, his voice hoarse.